I got some thoughts I gotta think about, and I think I'm gonna thunk 'em on this prepared canvas, because this feels like a think thunky canvas. Good morning, and it is truly morning. Barely, but as you can see, I was a bit busy off camera with some paintings that are unrelated to my current project that I'm recording, which a little bit what I'm doing today might be unrelated, but it's to be determined. Honestly, first things first in the studio this morning is going to be a little bit of tidying up. A little bit of tidying up because at the moment walking around and maneuvering is more difficult than it needs to be. Keywords there being than it needs to be. So, I figured I would show off a little bit of a separate project that I do. These are more personal paintings. What I'm doing to practice for my nanas are a little bit disconnected, and that's probably where some of the folly is. So I'm trying to get back into reconnecting with my personal ambitions with painting. So this one is a questionably finished, I'm not sure yet, hence why it's the one hanging on the wall, painting that I started in my first semester of internships because I was stressed. That's all I'm gonna say about that. It is, as you can see, a bit of a biggin, and I haven't worked on it long enough that it's got some cobwebs on it. It's not saying much. Everything in this room develops cobwebs. Well, the next one that I believe is finished. In my heart, I think it's finished. Honestly, that's part of what I'm looking at today. Let me take a look at it with you here for a second. Yeah, I think this one's done. Means I gotta go in and paint the edges because they currently look just like nothing. I'll probably do it some dark blue, highlight some bits with yellow. I like doing wraparound images when I have large, like thick edged paintings like this. I either leave it the natural wood of the panel or I do some kind of wraparound image. It's a favorite of mine. Even if they're gonna get put in frames. Yeah, sometimes it's just like a little reminiscent of the wraparound image. So these two actually need to go, well, that one at least. They get to stay down here because they need their edges finished. So, what are you working on this morning then, if not those two giant paintings, Gray? I got some thoughts I gotta think about. And I think I'm gonna thunk 'em on this prepared canvas. Because this feels like a think thunky canvas. Ooh. So, I'm sure I've shown these off before and I will do it again. This is a sketch of the painting Into the Depths, the one that was just up there, if you can or cannot tell. It doesn't have as clear of a yellow line on it, unfortunately. But this is the sketch that I did when I was almost done with the painting and I was trying to figure out where I needed to go with it. I scan in these sketches on my printer, which does a pretty high fidelity scan, and then do prints of them and sell those. I do sell the big paintings, but the big paintings are expensive. So I try and sell the same idea of the big paintings every time I do a little mini sketch. This is a more affordable price point. I also sell the original sketches. I just haven't figured out a price point for those yet because I personally love them. I think they're delightful. I just don't know what people will pay for these yet. I also just have a lot of brushes. This isn't even all of them, as you would have seen on my studio tour. Did I not seal this? Who knows? Back in. I probably want to anyway. So at this point in the painting, I pretty much locked in and didn't say anything to the camera for majority of this video, so you guys get a voiceover this week. What I'm doing here is basically adding more texture into the canvas that is specific for the, I don't necessarily want to say idea that I have, because I don't have an idea going into this. I have thoughts and emotions that I want to get out on canvas so that I can think about them. And so I go in that direction continuously, mostly based on instinct. So a lot of my reasoning for, oh, why did I do this in this painting is, fit the vibes. The tool that I'm actually using in here to scrape back into the paint is this really fun, just silicone tipped brush handle. I have a few of them that do different textures, and they're really, really fun and interesting ways to remove paint from the painting and reveal whatever's below it. Majority of the beginning process of this painting is just covering up and revealing and covering up and revealing repeatedly until I get to a point where either further inspiration strikes or I'm happy with what I'm working on. Here I am following some of the original texture lines that I created with my scribbling and my sketching, with just some thicker paint on a palette knife to further create more texture, more interest, and more dynamics. And you guys would be surprised the amount of me standing and staring at my paintings that I cut out of my videos. I stand and stare at my paintings for at least the same amount of time that I'm actually working on them, if not more. Starting to divide the painting in half like this is another one of my decisions that is difficult to explain how I got there. It is the kind of thing that just felt correct in the moment, so I followed that instinct. I also very commonly blow dry my pieces between layers because I'm impatient and I don't want to wait. Using chalk and charcoal in my paintings is not something that used to be common, but after working with my grandmother became so. It is both a way to plan and a way to add texture. I'm generally using fine charcoal or a white chalk to do this because both of them are really easily removable. If I don't like what I do, I can just wipe it off with water and it's gone. Or if I do like it, I put a coat of fixative to seal it, hopefully, if I remember, and wait long enough for it actually to be dry and sealed. And then I can paint right over that and allow it to add texture and dimension to the painting itself. And then, of course, as I talk about here, I also write. I am going to skip over some parts of me doing this painting because I often in these paintings, as you saw earlier, but, well, maybe you saw it earlier if you could read it on the camera, I cut it out. I write on the canvas a lot when I'm doing my more emotional pieces. I write on the canvas for basically everything, but you might not see all the writing on the canvas that I do for this style of painting. here you can see the exact moment that I realized that the layer of spray fixative that I put on did not dry properly. I probably just didn't let it dry for long enough, and simply didn't work. I really need to let the fixative set more every time. Whatever. So here I'm still just making those very intuitive decisions, spending a lot of time standing back and looking at my piece, and also controlling the texture of what I'm doing by making sure that I am managing exactly how much water is in my brush. If I want more of the bristle texture of the brush to stand out, then I use less water, more of a dry brushing technique. And if I want things to be smoother or less opaque, then I use more water in my brush. And that's just something that takes a lot of practice and a lot of trial and error to figure out exactly how it's going to work for you. I was really pulling from the charcoal sketch that I had done halfway through at this point, and following that midline that I put in, and the shapes and the feelings around it, while continuing to think about exactly what it was that I needed to consider. This is another one of those instances where I spend a lot of time just looking at my painting to see, is the feeling right? Is the composition right? Is this evocative of what I want it to be? Or is there something else that I can do? And this isn't the final stage of this painting. I actually do a lot of the finishing touches for this one off camera because they were done a few minutes here, a couple minutes there, not one large session like the original painting. And you will see a cut at the end of the full painting up close so you can get a good look at it for yourself. Okay, I'm checked back in, because I was certainly not before. So, for the reason that I decided to record this piece, which I realized I never explained, the way that I had the surface prepped when you saw it when I put it up, it's the way that my grandmother has prepped surfaces in the past. I have one of hers. I really don't want to pull it out because it is in my prepped surfaces pile, which is huge and a little precarious. But I wanted to see how my grandmother's surface prepping method would tie in with my intuitive painting strategies, where I mostly just work from my emotions or my current experiences. Hence why some of the writing was cut, because some of it is pretty personal in nature, which is why majority of it ends up covered up or blurred beyond recognizable words. With that being said, thank you guys so much for joining me in the studio today, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye.